Hello my dear friends, welcome again. Last time as we saw the formwork related issues and how to deal with them at site. And this time we'll go through the reinforcement related, or we can say rebar related issues at site. I would like to clear here, like I have been telling you that this channel I will be using for sharing the knowledge as well as sharing the codal provisions or codal references or best industrial practices. There are many contents on how to lay reinforcement and how to lay formwork, what are the checks to be done in the formwork. There are many content in the internet, but in my channel I will share the practical issues we face every time during our inspections, during maybe our day-to-day practices, laying at site, workmanship issues, and how to deal with them, how to mitigate them, how to avoid them. Let's start today's topic: reinforcement for the construction. So, when we say reinforcement or reinforcement material, the first thing which comes in the mind is TMT bars, right? Ribbed TMT bars. Now, if we see in the market or the available data, technical data, there are 500D, 500, FE500, FE450, FE400. There are many. So, we will not go in that technicality of the material. But once the material is selected from a source, as I have been mentioning in many my videos, that the source should be either recommended by the client or it should be a well renowned and primary manufacturer produced material. There are many reasons behind that, but just to see as an overview, the main purpose behind using a primary manufacturer material or renowned brand to avoid any kind of chances of quality failure. Okay, now we have crossed the step, we have selected the brand. I am not promoting any brand here, so I will not be discussing about any brand names, but we will take good brands in the market. We will procure the material, and we will procure the material as per our ITP and in technical specification given by the client. The material is came, it is unloaded. So first, the QC engineer's role is the material. Once the material comes at site, the duty of store person or store handling person or a storekeeper or a store manager or a store in charge to inform the material inspector or material engineer or QC material engineer about the arrival of material. Once the material came, QC engineer or material engineer should reach to the truck or a trolley or any wagon which is carrying it, check for the tags, whether the reinforcement or bars received in tags, bundles or loose. When it says a bundle, generally one bundle will consist of average 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 tons in one bundle, and that bundle will have tags, and the tags will somewhat looks like this picture. So once the material comes in as tags, the material source, the heat number, the lot number is identified, and the document related to transportation will be verified, reviewed, and the primary thing which is very important is TC, the test certificate. The mill test certificate or manufacturer test certificate will be reviewed as per the tag, right? We are considering a standard method or standard delivery, ethical delivery by agency or the manufacturer to the project. Now, you have reviewed the material. Next comes the unloading. Then, once material is tagged, identified, the material will be allowed to unload, and it will be stacked minimum 6 inch above the ground level. The reason behind is to avoid any kind of soil or earth in contact with reinforcement. The chances of corrosion will be high in case of that. So it will be ensured the pedestals will be precast before or during procurement process. So the precast will be, the pedestals will be ready to lay the reinforcement or to keep the reinforcement once it arrives. So reinforcement are stacked on that. You can see the sample or ideal way of stacking the reinforcement here. Here the care should be taken jointly by store person and QC person that the material or the reinforcement bars should be kept identified easily, like dia wise, grade wise, and obviously heat number or lot number wise. I'm not telling that there will be a wall constructed to and partition to be done and all. You can logically identify the gap between, identifiable gap between the bars, dia, grade, then maybe the heat number and lot number. It should be stacked and there will be identification board will be kept on that. That's a primary work, preliminary works. Then obviously the sampling part comes. The sampling should be done as per IS 1786, IS and sampling other codes related to sampling, and testing will be done in laboratories to correlate with the MTC, right? Just to correlate. Now, what is the care to be taken here? The care is when you take reinforcement samples, there will be two samples, like one is a main bar which is taken, then you will be cutting that into required sample pieces. So there will be two parts. One is mother bar which is a length, more in the length, and there will be sample bar. Obviously you will be tagging the sample bar with the sample cards and you will be sending it to laboratory. The care to be taken is the mother bars, the main bars which are remaining bars. Say example, you have taken 3 meter from one bar. So 12 meter bars, 3 meter is gone. So 9 meter bar will be balanced. So those bars you should be kept in your custody, safe custody, till the result comes from the laboratory. And once the result is satisfactory, certified by client, you can use this parent bar. Or else, if anything goes wrong or result is abnormal, in that case you may have to take a resample as per IS 1786. You may have to take resample and you may have to send it to laboratory. So till you get the result and certifies by the client, it's always better to preserve that parent bar. And ideal condition, you shall not use the material, entire lot of the reinforcement till you get the results from laboratory. Correct? Now this is about storage and stacking of the material. Let's come to laying part. Now, as we all know, many of my seniors and colleagues will be aware, the standard reinforcement bar comes in 12 meter length, and it's very uncommon. It's very common that the span length or required length of the reinforcement required will be always more than 12 meters or something. So either we may have to lap the bar or you may have to tack the bar, that is bar tacking or couplers. Understand? So let us see this installation ways in an ideal condition. We have seen the reinforcement laying in many ways, right? When I say many ways or many methods, that is, I am referring to slab, column, footing, and or in other way we can say compression members, tension members, and resting or floor or grade slabs, right? Every element of these kind of concretes will need a reinforcement. Reinforcement is the technicality of the reinforcement, I think everyone might have studied. So what are the practical issues will come at installation stage? We will study one by one. The very first and very common issue in reinforcement is cover to the reinforcement. What are the issues we face in the cover? That is, less cover, more cover, or any protruding of reinforcement in the cover. Less cover is consistently throughout, its cover is less. More cover is the same consistently throughout the height or throughout the length or throughout the dimension, the cover is more. Protruding the rebars means a particular area or localized area or reinforcement has come in the cover zone. All three practically not accepted. All three are not accepted practically. I will share the examples in the picture here. So why this happens? The major reason or root cause when we see in between, we come across the issues like bar bending schedule. Many times we leave the bar bending schedule part with the site execution engineer. Yes, we are all engineers, and as a civil construction engineer, as a civil engineer, we must know the BBS. But are we expertise in preparing these BBS? How far are we aware of bar bending schedule? What happens if an expertise or expert person in BBS prepare a schedule versus a site engineer who has lot of things running in his mind, schedule, cost, labor arrangements, labor engagements, pressure from seniors? That person preparing a schedule, what are the comparison? Definitely an expert will give you accurate BBS compared to site engineer. So here I would like to suggest my engineer friends to please assign a dedicated BBS person or engineer for this work. Otherwise, definitely less cover, more cover, or rebars, localized rebars protruding. Now, where the localized rebars protrudes, especially where the beam column junctions, where beam bars are been tied, column bars are been taken up, or the beam was tried to insert into the column bars, and then we came to know the beam bar maybe 10 mm, 12 mm, 15 mm is been length was calculated wrong, it is coming in the cover zone. Second part, the column which is joggled or bent to lap was not taken care as per the required angle of bend, or beam, to accommodate the beam into the cover zone, bar was bent, column bar was bent or a little bit diverted from its position, has resulted in more cover at certain height immediately during slab area or at the next floor or next level column starting area. My humble request to all these kind of situations is, please do involve your designer to assess such kind of issues rather than taking expert opinion. First you would accept yourself that you are not the expert, subject experts. So rather than giving your own opinion, always suggest an expert opinion, that is designers. I saw many engineer friends will take on spot decision by giving skin reinforcement in the more zone area, or widening the column, or giving a stub column, or jacketing the column for less cover area. That may be a solution. I am not telling that it's not a solution, it's not a good solution, or it's not an acceptable solution, but there should be a documented evidence to do that through or authorized by designer only. Next issues we see the column bars and beam bar junction. The reinforcement was congested, and to accommodate the further reinforcement or to ease the concrete flow, the rebar were cut using gas cut or mechanical cut, and the length was disturbed. Very commonly disturbing lengths are LD or L bends, which are supposed to be there as per drawing, and generally they will be hindering the beam bars. So voluntarily it will be decided to cut. I am not at all blaming the engineers or workmanship. I am just blaming, or I can hold responsible or accountable for such mishaps the supervisor or engineer. And if engineer has been guided by his seniors, yes, then the seniors will be equally responsible for such mishaps. But these are all common things we see which shall not be done. They are unethical, impractical solutions. They are not the solutions. They are not supposed to be done without designer concurrence. There is a procedure for this, yes, but it has to be proactively planned, and it should be done outside the project or outside the structure as a mock-up to assess the congestion, involve the designer, take him into confidence, show him that a consistency or any solution is there for this, or you may have to bend the bar, or you may have to face the uncompaction, no flow of concrete inside the column bars. Show him the reality, let the designer work out the solution, and then you do. There is no harm in that. It's a professional way to solve the site issues. Then I saw many projects where cover blocks are not being respected. The most common errors are cover block casted at site. There is no wrong thing to do that, but 90% of project's technical specification mentions that the cover block should be equal to the grade of concrete, and same percent of the technical staff, contractor staff are unaware of this clause. They will start simply casting with cement 1, 3 sand 1:3 and start casting the cover blocks with binding wire inserted, and maybe 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch PVC pipes were cut and start casting that on the site or near the lab or wherever it is possible. It's wrong. That's not the way. Cover block mixed design should be designed properly. They should be made to the order, made with the same as design of concrete required for the structure. They should be made as to facilitate the rebar, reinforcement bars. There are available, you can see some photos here, there are many type of cover blocks, ready-made cover blocks are available in the market. Some of the cover blocks are specially meant for columns to hold, to move, to accommodate the movement, to facilitate the movement of the column, rebars and stirrups, rings. There are some specialized cover blocks which are meant to accommodate the bars, the double layered bars, specially you can see in the photo. We shall, unless until we accommodate the reinforcement, or you can unless until you fix the reinforcement intact, the cover blocks will damage the rebar installation. We saw the slabs and the footings. The movement on the reinforcement once installed, once laid, will never stops until the concrete completes. The continuous movement of the manpower, of the laborers, the material, the continuous movement will be there. So the cover block is the first element to take this kind of loads once rebar is installed. So are they meant to take that kind of load? They are just to provide the cover, right? If you do unorganized, no designed or unplanned method of casting of cover blocks, you are inviting many mishaps. That is breaking of cover block or tilting of cover block, misplacing the cover block and reinforcement touching the slab bottom, and obviously no cover, or once you de-shutter the bottom shutter, you will see a beautiful checkered design reinforcement came out, which is unrepairable, or it is very difficult to repair. You will end up in reworking or doing some additional extraordinary advanced technological repair methods, which nobody wants it. There are some cover blocks made by PVC, HDPs, which are designed to suit at site conditions. Use them, encourage them. They are they are designed, they are fabricated, they are manufactured based on various designs, various strengths. Rather than wasting our money, time, manpower in casting illogical or uncoordinated cover blocks at site, always it is suggested to buy a ready-made cover blocks and install them. The very next common site issues are throwing cover blocks here and there in the structure. When you open this type of mistakes we see when you open the shutter. When you open the formwork, you will see unprecedented, unplanned cover blocks in the face. And if it is a PVC, it's a nightmare to remove and repatch that area. So as an engineer, as a site engineer, we should focus on these minor items, minor mistakes. We should avoid these kind of minor mistakes. Next very common site issues we see is rebar cleaning. Many times or most of the times we cast retaining wall columns in 2 or more lifts. Obviously they are all designed for that. The most common mistakes we do during this is we do trimming, and obviously if no client is watching, we bypass the trimming, we directly put chute and concrete through chute. Free fall will be neglected, which should not be. A proper trimming should be used. But in case of any negligency or maybe sometimes less height is there, so no trimming is required, directly chute can be done. Agreed. My issue is slurry or concrete stick to the reinforcement bars. As a common practice, we always tend to forget the immediate cleaning of reinforcement bars. It may be vertical, it may be horizontal bar. We tend to forget to clean this immediate or in a wet condition of concrete, which will ease our work. Else, most of the times we forget this, and once we come on the next day or once the site engineer remembers to de-shutter and take the shutter on the next floor or next level or next layer, he put the shutter, he called for inspection, and then client comes and sees the rebar was not cleaned or rebar was left with slurry, which then there will be an excuse that we cannot clean the rebar now. So most ideal solution for this is the moment your concrete is over, leave one labor with one supervisor to address such issues, clean the rebars immediately, and definitely you will not be required to wash it, right? Clean the rebar immediately and clean the binding wires, especially because binding wire will hold the slurry more as compared to rebar surface. And if you try to clean the dried slurry from binding wire, there are more chances of getting cut of the binding wire. That's one. Next, major issues are dowels in the wall or column. We see the retaining wall, most of the times the retaining wall will have dowel left inside the wall itself while casting, so that when you open the shutter you will just rebend back. Maybe the dowel will be for ramp or maybe a grade slab, maybe anything, but dowel will be left inside. Next common issues we can see very at site on regular basis is circular column. Circular column will have spherical binders or stirrups, which oftenly or oftenly neglected to tie each and every vertical bar. And many times I saw not only circular columns or binders or spherical binders or stirrups, I saw many people do this mistake by tying alternate bars to save that binding wire. I don't think so. Binding wire will cost you much higher in this project, so that you have to save that for someone else's sake. Binding wire, as name it says itself, it's a binding. Unless you bind the reinforcement together, it will not perform. So as a responsible engineer, it's our prime responsibility to check the binding is done properly at every junction or every lapping of reinforcement, crossing of reinforcement one to each other. Next common mistakes or workmanship errors at site is embedments. Embedment is not a mistake, but the way we fix it on the reinforcement bars is wrong. I'm not telling everywhere, I'm just highlighting as per this picture in some of the projects where minor negligences happen. Many times we have to have the embedments fixed on the reinforcement bar. It's a need. But TMT bars or any bars, the direct welding is not suggested practically and chemically. So what shall we do? Take additional bars, bind them with the binding wire, and you can do weld on them if it is required. Try to manage as much as possible with binding wires. If it is totally impractical to put them with or to hold them with the binding wires, with the last option you can go with welding on additional bars, and then those additional bars you bind them with reinforcement. Do not do any hot work on TMT bars unless until it has been designed for that. There are many provisions in the codes to do hot work, but there are approved methodology to do so. So don't do unless until it has been designed by designer to do hot work on them. Another very common and very funny things we see that rebars, they cut it wherever they want through gas cut or gas cutting or flame cutting. Again repeat my same sentence. These TMT bars are not meant for any hot works. So please avoid any hot work on them. If anything, any rebar is required to be cut, please do cut using grinding or cold cutting machines. So we discussed in today's session storage of bars. It has to be stored 6 inch above the ground minimum. The pedestal should be designed to have that load. Pedestal to be well maintained, well proactively designed and drafted and then casted before reinforcement arrives. Reinforcement is stacked, properly identified, and laying. We discussed the cover issues, how to mitigate the cover issues. Then we saw the reinforcement protruding, the BBS. The BBS must be done through a well qualified, experienced BBS person and dedicated BBS person, BBS engineer. Then next we saw unplanned, unorganized way of cutting, bending or installation of rebars and cover blocks. And furthermore, a very simple tips that avoid any kind of bonding agents or oil or shuttering oils on reinforcement bars, because they will create a smooth surface and debonding with the concrete, which we don't want technically. Clean the rebars properly before installation. Any kind of discoloration or any kind of splatters or flakes are coming out, immediately bring it to the notice of quality control engineers or designers or material engineers. Get the resampling done to assess the corrosion part, whether it has been really corrosion started or in which stage the corrosion has reached, or whether it is the bar can be used still further. So assess to that. Don't come to conclude, don't decide by yourself. Avoid reinforcement bars from extreme weather conditions, that is rain, more sun here, more sunlights or more winds, dusty area. Keep in covered condition. And then avoid gas cutting, hot works on reinforcement. While placing, I will give an ideal checklist for reinforcement works, and ensure that you will not tick it, write OK or checked, found OK. Little bit more efforts, but it will make you ensure that yes, the things are been checked. It will make you liable to write that much. If you spend that much time to write, your conscious mind will be running behind, will agree through it. Please avoid yes, okay, tick, not NA. Please avoid such shortcuts in filling the checklists. Immediately once you install, take signature by client and clear it. That's all. If anything is missed, please do mention in the comment. Anyway, I am going to make another continuation video with this reinforcement bars, site issues, as this subject is very vast in other comparison. And please do like, subscribe and share my videos. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Meet you soon. Keep tuned. Bye.